It's Friday, and what that means here is that we're getting ready to go deep into a classic tabletop RPG here on Classic Tabletop RPG Fridays here at RPG Elite. I want to welcome everyone who's new to the channel and also all my elites and geeks and everyone in between. And if you're new to the channel, let me give you the 411 on what's up and where you have stumbled upon. This place, folks, is RPG Elite. It's the place where I focus on putting the RP back into RPG by giving you tools, tips, tutorials, and that real talk, that uncomfortable talk about the tabletop RPG space and culture. Like I said, today we're going to get right back into our Classic Traveler RPG series. This is part 3 of a 3-part series. It's the last part of Traveling in Traveler. Now, if you're interested at any time during this series or even this video, and you're interested in looking at Classic Traveler, don't forget down in the description below, there is a link to a free facsimile copy put out by Mark Miller and all of those people over there. So it's out there for free. You want to check it out, see if it's something that you really want to get into. And then if it is, then there's a whole bunch of other links down in the description for Classic Traveler and any other iterations of Traveler that you might be interested in. So let's get into our last part of Classic Traveler Traveling. And we're going to deal with a couple of things, just only a few, but there's enough details in this that's going to take us a little while to get through it. So let's do that. And then on the other side, as I always do, I got the question of the vid for you. So let's roll 'em. So the term gas giant actually comes from James Blish. Back in the 1950s, he coined the phrase. He was a science fiction author, and basically it refers to a giant planet that is made mostly out of, you guessed it, gas. Doesn't mean that there's no terrestrial matter there. It's just that most of it is gas. And the gas giants in the Milky Way, for example, are Saturn, Jupiter, actually Uranus and Neptune as well, but the ones who are recognized the most as the gas giants would be Saturn and Jupiter. Uranus and Neptune, they are that. However, they have some different makeup in terms of the gases that surround them and has some methane and ammonia in there. But mostly gas giants have hydrogen and helium that makes up the majority of the gases that surround them. Now, there have been over 1,700 gas giants discovered as exoplanets, which means that they're not in our system. And out of the 4,000 plus planets, that's quite a few actually. That's almost half, right? So gas giants are pretty common in the cosmos. Now, what happens in Classic Traveler, a little bit of science fiction here, is that starships go into the atmosphere of these gas giants and they orbit there. And what happens is that they have what they call giant scoops. And these scoops take in all these gases. Now, I would say more, it'd probably be like a vacuum that sucks it in, but however you want to look at it. And they stay in orbit for 8 hours and take this in and change this into actual fuel that they can use to get from point A to point B. This whole process is called skimming. But there are 2 more ways that you can fill up that tank as well. A second way that you can refuel your starship in Classic Traveler is to go within the atmosphere of a planet, go down, land near a body of water, and use what's called ocean refueling. So you sit there and you get hooked up, however you want to, imagine this, and use the water as your refueling source. Now, obviously, hydrogen is the energy source in Classic Traveler, whether it be a gas giant or whether it be on a planet. You do that, it's a whole lot faster. It only takes 4 hours to refuel this way. And you have the same thing if you have in a gas giant. You got a tank that is filled up with unrefined fuel. And all you need to do at that point is take everything in and shoot to the stars. Now, the third way that you can fill up is at a starport, just like we fill up at a gas station. And so just like today, you got your regular unleaded and you got your premium. It's the same thing in Traveler. You got your unrefined fuel and your refined fuel. Your unrefined fuel is going to cost you 100 credits per ton of whatever tank, however big your tank is. And if you want to go premium with refined fuel, then that is going to cost you 500 credits per ton. Much more expensive, like 5 times expensive. And so you could see why people would go either the unrefined fuel route at a starport, or they'll just go get it from the ocean, or they'll go get it from a gas giant. Now, here's the caveat to all of that. You got to make sure if you're going to do a gas giant or an ocean refueling, gots to be atmospheric streamline. Now, we talked about this before when we were talking about Starship design. So if you missed that part, you can go and watch it after you get done watching this video. If you're running with unrefined fuel, that's fine. However, it can cause a little bit of a problem. So let's talk about that next. Starships are like vehicles, folks. You got to take care of them. But even when you're taking care of them and everything, hey, sometimes they just break down. Sometimes things happen and you don't know why. They malfunction, and starships are no different. In Classic Traveler, there are 2 major malfunctions that they have as mechanics in the game. Now, of course, you can make up a whole bunch of them because there's myriad different things that can happen on a starship and something breaks down. But we're just going to cover the ones that are in the Classic Traveler starter set and the Classic Traveler game itself. We're going to look at these 2 major malfunctions, which is drive failure and misjumps. Drive failure is when one of your drives stop working. That will happen on a 13 plus that is supposed to be rolled by your referee every week. Now, I know what you may be saying, 13 plus, what do you mean 13 plus? Is 2d6, right? Yes, but there are some die modifiers that you have to add to that. So in this case, it would be good if they rolled lower, not higher. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of these die modifiers. Now, one of them is unrefined fuel. Now, this is going to come into play if your ship is not equipped to handle unrefined fuel. How do you know that? Remember when I just mentioned that atmospheric streamlining thing? Yeah, if your ship doesn't have it, then that is going to add a +1 modifier to the die roll for a drive failure. If you don't have an engineer on board, even if, listen now, even if the crew that you have for your ship doesn't call for one, but it's always good to have an engineer on board. If you don't have one, that's another +1. And also, if the maintenance for your starship is past due. So you've been going from place to place, you've been handling business, and yeah, maybe you just slipped your mind, you didn't get the maintenance done, you didn't pay for it, then that is going to add a modifier. So let's say you have all 3 of those situations that are in play, then really what you need is a 10 plus in order for a drive failure to happen. So what happens if a drive failure is present? Well, at this point, you got to start rolling a 7 plus for each drive. So we're talking about starships here. Normally, you're just going to talk about starships. So there's 3 drives, remember? Your jump, your maneuver, and your power plant. If your jump drive fails, okay, well then you can't jump. It's not the end of the world, right? You want to get it fixed though, especially if that's the way that you make your money. The next one is your maneuver drive. Okay, now we're getting a little bit more serious because now you can't move. I mean, you could jump from place to place, but then you can't move from the place where you jumped. And normally you can't even get to the place to jump because your maneuver drives just went out on you. Okay, well that's kind of serious. And then the next one is the most serious out of all of them, which is your power plant drive. Okay, all things shut down, including life support. Now, every ship is equipped with batteries, backup batteries that'll run life support, but it'll only do it for 24 hours. You need to get that fixed, and you need to get it fixed immediately. Now, right there's an adventure. Power plant drive. Now, how are you gonna get out of this situation? It says that you're supposed to roll 7+, but what if you roll 7+ for all of the drives? You roll 7+ for all of the drives, you are in really big trouble. All right, the inverse is true too. What if you don't roll 7+ for all 3 of your drives? Okay, then you have to pick one at that point, because if you roll the 13+, that means one of your drives is failing. So just pick one. Any repairs that happens in space is temporary. You cannot fix what breaks in space permanently. You have to go to a starport to do that, but you can fix this temporarily to get you to a starport. In order to do that, you gotta roll a 10 or higher. Now, this is where engineer is gonna be king right here, because their skill is going to be a DM to the roll. So having an engineer on a starship, just period, even if the crew, you don't need it on the crew, just have an engineer, and that normally comes in the place of a PC who has that skill, because they are worth their weight in gold, especially if you get into a situation where the drive fails. Now, the second major mechanic in Classic Traveler for Starship Malfunctions is the Misjump. Now, again, you have to throw 13+ on 2d6, but again, you have some die modifiers. And again, if you have unrefined fuel and your ship is not equipped for it, it's going to add a +1 die modifier to that. The next modifiers are a little tricky to figure out, and it's better if you do this ahead of time, and I'll tell you this in a second. The world that you are making a jump from is going to determine the modifier and how far you are from that world. Now, this is getting more into the territory of world creation. We're not there yet. We're gonna have to take a look at this world creation table, because we need to look at the size of the world in order to get the numbers that we need to plug in for the modifier. Every world has a number assigned to it, and that tells you the size or the diameter of that world. If you look at the table here, if you have a size 1 world, it's got 1,000 kilometers. Okay, so it's a very, very small world. When it comes to the die modifiers for making a misjump, the closer you are to a world, the more likely that you will have a misjump. Now, again, like I said, you got to throw 13+, but the die modifiers start going up tremendously if you are closer to a world. Now, if you remember when we were doing the interplanetary travel, there was a column, it was the last column, and in that column, it told you the safe distance for a jump for a world of a certain size. That obviously is the place that you want to hit it. You want to hit that sweet spot. But if, for example, you got somebody after you, they're faster than you, and the only way you're going to get out of there is by making a jump, and they are about to take you out, and you are not a safe distance from that planet, you got to chance it. You got to chance it. And at that point, the size of the world comes into play. If you're making a jump within 100 times the diameter of the world that you're making this jump from, it's going to add a +5 modifier to the roll for a misjump. If it is within 10 times the diameter of that world, well, then it goes up to 15, which means it's automatic. You are going to have a misjump. And if all of your die modifiers take you to 16+, bye-bye, it's over. Your ship explodes, everybody on it, and it is time to roll up a new character and get yourself another starship if you can. So let's say misjump, right? You did a misjump. Okay, so now this is what you'll need to do in order to determine where this misjump takes you. Basically, you zigged when you should have zagged, that kind of thing. So the first thing you're gonna do is roll 1d6. This is going to determine how many dice you're going to roll for how many hexes that you just moved. Then roll that many dice for how many hexes. You roll another 1 die. Now this 1 die is to determine the direction you are going. So these are made in hexes on a subsector map, and you can just give it a number of 1 to 6. Then, boom, make a roll and say, it's this direction. You can also just make it a decision to be like, okay, they went in this direction. You can also do it that way, just pick one. And then the last one is going to be 1d6 to tell you how many weeks that they have been in this jump. So a misjump can mess with you. It can mess with you. One of the things you might want to do is to plan your misjumps. I know, that sounds like a little bit of an oxymoron. It's a misjump. How do you plan it? Well, just roll all that stuff ahead of time and do it for like 3-4 times, right? So you're planned with 3 or 4 misjumps. So if there is a misjump, you don't have to sit there and stop the flow of the session by making a whole bunch of rolls. You can just slide right on into it, and it won't stop the progression of the story, and it'll just keep going real smooth. So there you have it, and maybe you learned something new today. Maybe you got a little bit of value out of this video, and if you did, can you do me a favor and go ahead and crush the like button for me? And I would greatly appreciate it. Give me a little bit of YouTube algorithm love. And if you are new to the channel and you're thinking about sticking around a little bit, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I come out, God willing, with videos every Tuesday and Friday. As you can see, I'm coming out with videos today. Sometimes I come out with an extra video on another day. You just don't know. You'll never know, folks. So, question of the vid today is this. So I gave you a couple different scenarios in terms of the Starship malfunctions because there's only 2. So which of those malfunctions would you rather go through? Would you rather go through a drive failure or would you rather go through a misjump? Either one of those could take you in some pretty dangerous places if you've got a creative GM. So which one would you rather be a part of if you are in a classic traveler adventure? I want to know. Let's get some engagement going down in the comments below right now. Well, first, thank you so much for tuning in. I got to get out of here. I got to make some videos and do a whole bunch of other stuff. Just it's always busy. There's always something to do. I praise God for that, actually, because it could be a life of nothingness or it could be a life being non-productive. So there's a little bit of thumbs up for that. Amen. All right, let's get out of here, folks. So that means I gotta do my snaggle push.
So exit, stage left.
Hey, if you got a game this weekend and happy gaming, I pray that it is an RPG Elite session. So until next time, folks, God willing, my brother is just gonna have to say peace. 5,000 leaks. I'm outie.